WD-40.
I hope that's secure and not
Let's see. Where to begin?
My name's Marissa.
Oh, yeah, my name.
AKA Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, Mrs. Nichols.
For those of you who have no idea who I am, my name's Marissa. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. To kind of give some people a little bit of my background of like where my upbringing was. My growing up in a Christian home where I did have an idea of God. I knew how important He was, at least the influence and love and everything that He had given to my family and stuff, and keeping my parents together through all their ups and downs and roller coaster ride experiences. So I knew God was definitely a big part of my life. I guess I always believed that it's like I was a Christian, and even when my brother and I went to this one school, I don't know what religion it was at the time and stuff. All I know is we had to get dressed up in this weird looking uniform where I looked very weird and very itchy. I know it's just like anytime I did something wrong, I would say the Lord's Prayer. It's like, oh, that would save me, because I was a bad little brat child. Not that anybody here that knows or would think of me as a little bit of a brat growing up. Getting into fights with my older brother. It's like I didn't know what those words meant anytime I said the Lord's Prayer was, and how much of an influence that was. And then it's like we moved a couple of different times growing up out of different districts and stuff, because one district wasn't as good as the other one apparently. And we started going to this one church called Hope Community, which is back in Chicago, or one of the suburbs that we lived in at the time. It wasn't until I heard this one pastor speaking, and at the time I was going to this one youth group. So I was hanging around with people kids my age that said they were Christians, and I know they're probably going to be watching this and thinking it's like, I was a Christian then, which later on, as God grew me up more and more, I kind of could tell the difference between an actual Christian and then someone just kind of having one foot in the world, which I did for a while, and I had no knowledge I was doing it at the time. But on April 19th of 98 is when I did accept the Lord. And those words had so much more of a meaning. And then the following Sunday, following Sunday is when I got baptized for the first time with two of the biggest influences in my life there. Both my grandmothers, who are now with the Lord. They were sitting in front row and center. And then when I went into high school and stuff like that, hung around with people that I at the time thought were my really, really good friends, and now my parents were telling me for a long time that they were no good, and I shouldn't have become friends with them. It I did backslide after my freshman year of high school when my grandma Nani lost her fight with breast cancer. And since I was so good at hiding my emotions, I fell into a very, very deep depression that my parents didn't know about. And it wasn't until several years later that my mom found a diary that I had and read it. She didn't know that I had thought about ending my life on several occasions. I used to smoke too, thinking that would help me. Didn't help once. Just felt nice at the time. And then was still hanging around with people that I thought in my mind that they couldn't do any wrong. They were just dragging me down, and I didn't know how far down I was going. And then during the same year, after my grandma had passed away and stuff like that, my dad surprised me on Christmas, or I think it was my birthday or something like that, or the year before, because the doctors kept saying that we're going to try this new thing with chemo with my grandma, and then it was during the summer after my grandma had passed away. My dad surprised me with a trip to California, which was my first time ever being in Arizona or California, which I thought was really cool because nice and hot and sunny, and out at the time and stuff like that it was during track season. The weather was getting goofy again, so I'm like, why not? Since my dad didn't know exactly how depressed I was at the time, he thought it would be nice for at least during, for a week or something like that, for a couple of days, to just drive up the coast, visit the Grand Canyon, which had snowed that night. So I videotaped everything the day before the snow, and my dad and I, the next day at our weird hotel, we're just like, we're not staying here. So we did a bunch of detours, and it was actually my uncle, who's now a pastor, back in Chicago and stuff like that. He's a pastor of a church now, Calvary. My dad knows pretty much every Calvary pastor, since he went to this one Bible college in Shiloh, which was in Oregon at the time. He likes to talk about it so much. I don't know why. That's beside the point. But I mean, it was my uncle, my dad that were saying, it's like, there's a Bible college in California. It's like, we should check it out and stuff. And since I was extremely backslidden and everything, I'm like, what's a Bible college? I had no knowledge of what a Bible college was, but God led me there. And I mean, it was during the spring of '03, or not spring of '03. It was after I went to one of the extension campuses when I came back to the Lord, because I wrestled with Him for a long time. Now it's like, from that I have met the best person in my life, who's now my husband. So God's been good, and He's been whispering these words to me from this Bible verse to me, Psalm 34, verse 4. I sought the Lord, and He answered